Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marcus Aurelius, and this is Starbound. And while I am technically semi-retired from YouTube, I did say that I was going to be finishing up my current series, of which this is one, and I wanted to give you a good impression of the Fracken Universe mod for Starbound, because this mod is absolutely amazing, and it adds so much to the game in terms of items, planets, things you could do, even entirely new gameplay mechanics, which I'm going to be getting into in just a moment. So I wanted to record a few episodes where I show off the new assets of the mod. In this episode, we're going to be looking at my Nova Kid Ranch. I call it a ranch because that sounds very Nova Kitty, but in reality, there's no animals. Like, I'm not ranching any animals, so I guess that's not a very good name. But in then future episodes, I'll show off the different new planet types. So let's get started. So first off, this is the wall that I built to keep out wandering monsters. It's not very effective, though, because my base has gotten so big that they just spawn inside the wall. But I guess it still keeps some things out. So one of the first new additions the mod gives you is apiaries, like a bee industry. There's a word for that, I'm sure, but I don't know what it is. And it's very interesting, and it's a lot of fun at the beginning, but soon you realize that it's really actually kind of worthless. Honey is not... There's a lot of steps involved in making it, and it's not really that useful. You can't sell it for very much. There's a few new food items that you can cook with it, but they're not really better than the standard food items that you have anyway. Where honey really shines, however, is later on in the game when you get a hold of what are called miner bees. Now, miner bees are very special because depending on the frame that you put in the apiary, which you can put 2 in these giant apiaries, it determines what kind of honeycomb you get. And there's a different frame for every kind of metal. So, for example, I have a very easy time finding certain metals, like Durasteel and the high-end metals, but I'm very poor at gathering iron. So I've created a big iron industry here where you get iron honeycomb, and in this case I also have tungsten honeycomb. And you can then put those into a machine in order to extract ore from it, which is really useful. So I have a ton of those. This is an arid, which I also like, because you get golden sand out of it, which is a block, but you also get bee silk and beeswax. Then there's radioactive. This is great. Now, it's hard to make these. You have to make a uranium frame, and I think a bee accidentally mutates into it. But once you have a queen, and by the way, with all these bees, you only need 1 queen, and then you get numerous drones. Once you have 1,000 drones, they start putting the excess drones in the output. But anyways, the radioactive gives you uranium ore and radioactive honeycomb, which can be extracted radioactive ore out of it. Now, you might be wondering, Marcus, if you only need 1 queen for each one, and it spawns drones, how do you get more... Oh, it's getting to be nighttime. Whoops. How do you get more queens? Well, as you can see, there's a ton of bees flying around. These apiaries actually spawn bees, which you then go with your net, and invariably, some of these are going to be queens. Now, most are drones, but eventually, you're going to get a queen. I just got a radioactive queen, for example, a miner queen. So that's how you do it. You go around and and occasionally they'll attack you. Like they'll spawn dangerous bees. Now for the early game, a really good one to get is the jungle queen and the jungle drones. Now you can get those on a world, like a jungle world, but you can also make them yourself. Now as you notice, all of the bees go quiet at night, except for these guys here, because they are nocturnal, which... That's cool and all, but they don't actually produce anything worthwhile. So you might be wondering, okay, well, if the honey industry doesn't really do anything worthwhile, if it only gives you occasional little bits of ore, as long as you produce enough and you get the miner bees, why even do it? Well, there is one late game kind of benefit, which is there is a store where you can sell your bees to. Now, drone bees, since you produce tons of them, aren't worth a lot. You'll get some cash for them. But if you have a bunch of queen bees, especially higher level queen bees, and there's a whole lot more types of bee than I show here, you can sell them for really important stuff. But let me just quickly go through the mix. The reason why you'd want a jungle bee setup in the early game is because it spawns plant fiber, which, alright, is not that necessary because a lot of the worlds have tons of it, but it's nice to have a separate source of it, and you can make bandages and healing items from it. And also, what's really cool about the bee industry, and the one huge benefit to it, is there's a new healing item, a new bandage that you make using the honey. And that is actually very worth it. It's almost as good as the best. So here's the way you build everything. It's the bee station. I haven't built a honey extractor, and the reason why is because I have a jarring machine, which does the same thing, but you have to connect it to a workshop. And there's different apiaries. I don't know why you'd want an apiary that doesn't spawn bees, so I never built that one. And again, there's a different frame for every kind of metal, so that with the miner bees, you can go in and you can make the kind of ore that you want. Let me see if I can show you how to... Well, I'm just going to collect all the ore. Or the honeycomb, I should say. The miner honeycomb. But, and the dark honeycomb, by the way, which all miner bees make, regardless of what frame, that gives you coal. Okay, I'm going to leave all that in here. Alright, so I just got some of the miner honey. By the way, this is my well. It spawns a ton of water and also some regions. And that's one thing I'm going to talk about. This game introduces a whole bunch of new mechanics, because in the base game of Starbound, you collected blocks in order to build your base. And it was fun. You look for certain blocks and you build your base. And also some items that you would build would need blocks. But otherwise, you reached a certain point where you don't need blocks anymore. Blocks are kind of useless. Well, this mod takes that and flips it on its head, where blocks are incredibly useful. And let me show you how. So this is the entrance to my corral. In this first main room, you've got our defender here. Who are you, sir? Cerise. Actually, it's a lady. I'm sorry, Cerise. Didn't mean to misgender you there. And then we have our storekeeper, which, by the way, is a lot harder to build than you would think, because when you stumble upon Novakid villages in the world, they have a lot of furniture which is titled Saloon, not Frontier. And if you have too much Saloon furniture, you create a special Novakid tenant called a barman. So I had a bar in here originally and some Novakid. The only really Novakid storage items are associated with the Saloon and not the typical Novakid, which is a Frontier style. So you'll notice what I did is I have the Frontier lamp, which is in a little decoration, which is just a teeny little bit of Novakidness. But all the rest, this is a plain wooden table, this is a regular cash register, this is regular boxes. That's the only way I could spawn a Novakid merchant, because if I had any more Novakidness in this room, it would spawn a barman instead. This is my teleporter. Alright, so let's start from the bottom, I guess. That seems like a smart way to go about it. So first off, here are some, and I'm using more mods, by the way, than just Frackin' Universe. I will put a list of all the mods I'm using below. But aside from Frackin' Universe, I'm using Frackin' Music, which adds royalty-free music to the game, lots of it. So that's awesome. They're all really good, curated songs. They all make sense. They all fit the game, and I really appreciate that. Made by the same guy who made Frackin' Universe. And then I have something called Etherian or Elithian Races, which adds 3 new races to the game, which, by the way, I've only seen one of them on desert planets. And actually, I could take or leave that mod, because I'm sure it's wonderful, but I never see it. You know, like I've been to so many planets since I installed all these mods, played so many hours, and I've only seen like one minor village of the new races. But anyways, these are liquid containers. This one I'm filled with oil. This one with poison. And this one with water. Just plain old H2O. I just like the look of them. And you can put any liquid in them and it will fill up. And it'll be the color of whatever the liquid is. Alright. So this is interesting. This is a whole separate mod as well. This is a storage matter extractor. So what you do here is whenever you're traveling around the world and you stumble upon a container, which I don't have any of right now, you put that in this machine and it turns it into this stuff, which is storage matter. And then you can use this stuff at a storage workshop to create new containers. And you can also do fun stuff to containers, like make them hold more items, things like that. It's, you know, just a fun little mod. So, okay. So this is a cloning lab. It's I don't think it's that useful because the trees in this mod spawn a ton of saplings when you cut them down, not just one. But the way this works is you can put 2 different kinds of saplings and it will like bind them together and form a third kind of sapling. So if you have like, and it's kind of random, I'm sure there's a trick to it and I haven't figured it out, but if you put like a pine tree and an oak tree or whatever, it'll have like a oak leaf with the pine bark, essentially. That's how it works. All right. This is a wiring station. It's a typical, that's in the regular game, so I don't have to talk about that. But this is cool. This is cool, but it's going to lead me to a bit of a lecture here. So in this mod, well, let's start off with regular Starbound. So in regular Starbound, it does a very good job of having certain workstations that do certain things. Like you have a workstation that smelts ore. You have a workstation that builds weapons. And then as time goes on, and you get better at the game and you get more materials, you upgrade those workstations, which then allows you to do the same thing, but better. Now, the Fracking Universe mod does not follow that pattern. There are some workstations that can upgrade, and it utilizes upgrades, but there are also some times where you have 2 identical workstations that do the same thing, and one might be better than the other, but you can't upgrade from one to the other. You have to build a completely separate workshop. And in this case, this is one of those. So this is a blast furnace. Now it does the job of the extractor, the machine basically you put ore in. And I wish I had some ore to show you here. I should have thought more about this and planned better. I have 1 of every ore. I do have amber. Maybe that'll work. And maybe not. Thought amber would work. Maybe I just don't have it powered. Oh yeah, it's powered to the battery, which is off. Okay. So let's quit that for a second. Okay, let's put you here. Not going to work for me? It takes a little bit to rev up, but it doesn't look like it's going to work. Oh, you know what? Because I think this already is the ore. Maybe if I just put regular... No. Alright, well, sorry. Not much I could do here. I don't have any ore on me. But essentially, you put ore in here, and what makes the blast furnace so cool compared to the regular ore-making device is that it gives you more ore, more bars per ore, but also it gives you other items. Like it extracts other things out of the ore besides just the metal you're looking for. And in some cases, some of the items you get are really, really useful. So... let's actually, for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and fill up the battery. Alright, cool. Alright, so up here I have a bedroom for just a regular Nova Kid person. I didn't want to make a lot of people in this base because my human base that I showed off in an earlier episode, it runs so slow right now you can't even tell what's going on because the mod does slow down the game a little bit. But I do have a couple tenants. Here's Hexen, and she's just hanging out. She has a little heart on her face. I thought that was neat. If it is a she. I think it probably is she. So now this is the mod weapon maker, essentially weapon and armor maker. It's called the Armory. And as you can see, I have not done a lot. But I focused mostly on what I like, which in this case are guns. Because my sword, none of the swords that this mod, at least I've seen so far, can make are as good as the Protectorate sword that I already have. Which is, I guess, one negative of starting the mod when you're already well established in the game. It might be more fun to start from scratch, so you can try out all of these crazy weapons. Like you could see Lunari Spear, Master's Broadsword, Solarium Katana. There's a lot of cool stuff, and it breaks down into different items, pistols, but I've been focusing on the rifles. Unfortunately, up to this point, nothing I have produced even begins to compare with what I had to begin with. The closest I've got is this guy here, I think, the Gauss machine gun, which is okay, but again, it's not super great. I've also built a regular laser rifle. That's not that good. There's the Gauss machine gun. You also have a Gauss rifle. And the Fisher split rifle I really thought was going to be hardcore because it's level 5. It's a laser assault rifle, but it's still not as good in my opinion as the Gauss machine gun, which is only level 4. But I like how they've added a whole bunch of details so you can kind of compare weapons to one another. And of course you can build shields and armor. I have built a ton of the armor. Just because one thing the mod does that's really, really cool, and I'll get more into this later when I actually show you the armor, is that unlike the base game, well, the way the base game worked is you built a backpack, an EPP, and as you explored new types of stars and new worlds, you improved your EPP so that by the time you're done, your EPP allows you to go to any world you want to. This mod gets rid of all that. And at first I was kind of annoyed by this because I just didn't think it was fun. I thought the whole point of being able to go anywhere you want was liberating and good, and I thought this mod not allowing you to do that was a bad thing. But the more I got involved in the mod, I learned to appreciate it. So, for example, you do not have an EPP pack anymore that will let you go to radioactive, frozen, and hot stars. You have to either get a specific EPP pack for that star, or you can build armor that's built for that. And there's also armors that protect you from certain things too that you experience while on a planet. And I'll get into that. But so, as long as you know what you're doing and you wear the right armor, you can go anywhere. There's also food items that allow you to do things. Like, for example, the first time I went to my human base, which was radioactive, I didn't have any armor or an EPP that would work. So I took this moss, which gives you radioactivity immunity. However, that's not entirely good because you never know when it's going to end. It's not like the game warns you and says, oh, you only have 5 seconds left of immunity. So what'll happen is when it runs out, and all of a sudden your hit points drop to only 25%, which is fine if you're just walking around your base, but it's pretty tough if you're in the middle of a firefight. So, okay, so the game really expands, or the mod, I should say, really expands on the power aspects of the game. Now, in the base game, you could attach, like, wiring to certain, like, from a door to a thing, and if you push the thing, the door opens. But in the mod, you have batteries now, which store energy. You have generators, which make energy. In this case, this generator is a combustion generator, so it just uses wood, of which I have plenty. And then, through the wiring system, you feed that into certain things in order to make things happen. Like, for example, this here is an industrial centrifuge. And what this does is it takes liquids and it extracts meaningful items from them. In this case, I put some water in here. I'll show you. I'll give this one visually. This is a honey producer, which you attach to it. You put glass bottles in there, and it makes honey. I don't ever use that anymore because it's just kind of worthless. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I need to take the battery now, turn it off, and I need to apply this to the centrifuge. Alright, so let's start off with some water, since we just got a ton of that. So you put the water in, and it extracts, in this case it extracts oxygen, contaminated water, deuterium, which you could use as a ship fuel, and some hydrogen. Now, this is not the first extractor you can build. There are other ones that you can build first and that don't do as much. Like, I think this one, I think all of them give you oxygen and contaminated water, and maybe hydrogen, but only the higher level ones give you the deuterium. So that's why you're encouraged to move up to higher level extractors, because they give you more materials for your base material. Wow, I'm hungry again? Gosh, I must have been talking a long time. Okay, so, but it's not just water. You can do it to any liquid, but not just any liquid. You could also do it to honeycomb. And in this case, the deep earth honeycomb gives you coal. And of course, if I had glass bottles inside this honey jar, it would also give me honey. But I don't, because I don't care. And again, these different types of honeycomb give you different types of ore. So if I put in the arid, it's not even ore, I'm sorry. If I put in the arid, it'll give you the golden sand, which also the apiary makes, so it's not that super useful. But if I put in the radioactive one, eventually, I will get, at some point, one of these days, there we go, some uranium. And of course, iron will give me iron. Actually, it's good that I'm making this, because then I can take that down to the blast furnace and show you how that works. I'm going to let all the iron go. And then this is just a battery where you store power. Now, each battery stores a different amount of power. You can tell by looking at it. So this is stores up to 2,500 joules of power and dispenses 5 watts when connected. And it's right now fully charged at 100%. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to attach it to the blast furnace. Alright, so the iron's almost ready. It's not very fast. I think there's another one you can do that's even better than this one. So let's take the iron. All right. And now I go down here to the blast furnace once again. Put the iron ore in it. And boom. Not only are you quickly getting iron bars, but also I'm getting lead as a crafting material and some carbon. And every type of ore gives you different materials. Some ores even give you other types of ores. Like if you have a ton of copper ore, you'll also get some iron ore out of the deal in addition to copper bars. Now, it moves super fast too, so that's what I like about it. I wish it would allow you to put like 3 or 4 things in it. There's another level above this called the arc smelter. Actually, it's not an upgrade. As I said earlier, it's another workshop you have to build, but it's even better than that, supposedly. All right. So I saw this on one of those YouTube channels that focuses on giant, amazing bases, and I thought it was a good idea. So basically what it is in these boxes are the blocks that are represented on the wall. So for example, you see some leaf matter, you see some dirt, you see some clay, you see some stone. Go in here, and that's all the blocks that are... Oh, crap. Didn't mean to do that. That's okay, I can put it all back. Nope, not the water, though. Alright. And same thing here and here. So we got different types of blocks. We have some tar, some flesh chunks, you know, just interesting stuff. Some crystal here. So that's how I can tell which is in each box is what's on the wall. Let's get out of here. Alright. This is another furnace. This is actually the one you build before you have the technology to build this one. So this is just an alternator. It doesn't generate as much power, but it also uses wood. And I gotta fill up this battery. But anyways, these are amazing. These things are amazing. And what they are is they are hydroponics trays. So what they do is they take the place of farming. You put a seed, you put water, and then you put some kind of fertilizer. And the game allows you to produce multiple kinds of fertilizer. And it produces not only more seeds of what you're doing, but also the end product, which kind of sucks for old school base game foods like this tomato here, because you can only fit 1 tomato in a square. Now, other new food items that are brought in by the mod stack. For example, these bowl bonds or these minioca pods. So if I were to put the seed in here for that, it would just stack and it would just make it forever. But the cool thing is, at least with the old school stuff, you can still get more seeds. So if I take these tomatoes out, eventually you'll see new tomatoes will fill in here. And so these are great. It's a good way to get a ton of seeds and a ton of different food items. Now, why would you want a ton of seeds? Well, because the game also now lets you take seeds and it allows you to extract resources from them. Not only does it allow you to use these seeds to make other seeds, so like for example, you could make all these different plants, not just the ones that come with the base game like bananas, but also whole new ones, Bella Mort, and different foods have different benefits. Foods can regenerate your health, your energy, give you more health, more energy. There's a lot of benefits to food. And so what you can do is you take the seeds and you put them in these extraction devices called Xeno Research Labs, and it breaks the seeds down to their component parts and gives you basically genes. And you can tell them because they have this green square box around them. That's how you can tell them apart from, let's put them in my inventory. That's how you can tell them apart from other items, because all the other items have kind of rounded boxes, whereas these ones have square. And then with these genes, you can then go to another workshop, like this one, or there's even another one, a cloning lab, which lets you build. So, yeah, like for instance, this workshop allows you to build seeds utilizing stuff you find in the world or create yourself, but also some genes. So for example, if I wanted to make a battery stem, I would need not only a current corn seed, 3 of them, and also 3 mercury, but also the genes energy stores, regenerative, and electrogenic. And so with those genes, you're allowed to create new seeds, which you can use in the hydroponics to grow new plants, etc., etc. And then here's just a huge amount of storage where I store all kinds of stuff. Seeds up at the top, you can see all these. That's why I have so many seeds, because they're each worth certain things. And then just random furniture and whatnot. But here's where it gets really interesting. So these are extractors. And I mentioned earlier that in this mod, blocks can be used for something. It's not just a waste of time. So you go into here, this extractor, and you find a block. I don't have any. Let me get some. I must have some dirt or something. I'm not going to use the stuff I want to save, but let's see. Oh, it has to be like a natural block, though. It can't be like a built block. All right, maybe I don't. Man, I should have prepared better for this. But you put a block of something in here. Actually, you know what? I'll use the golden sand. I think that's in here. Yeah, okay. Golden sand. So you put the block in here, and it begins to extract resources from it. And every block in the game that's, again, natural, so like dirt, stone, that kind of stuff, it releases stuff. In this case, the golden sand gives you gold ore and glass. Whereas if I were to put dirt, you'd get like living material, cells, that kind of stuff. And so there's tons of these extraction items that are also useful in building other things. Like, for example, you go here, and you have a biochem lab where you could make things using these items that you extract. Like if I wanted unstable particles, I would use neptunium, magnesium powder, helium-3, and deuterium, which are all things that you would get. Again, you get magnesium from putting certain blocks in the extractor and getting magnesium out of it. My guard laser is shooting. That's cool. And this is the power station. So this is where you craft all the different powered items like the generators, the batteries, and there's more stuff that I haven't even done yet. Like the Ansible network allows you to shop. It's like a shop. Yeah, it's like basically you set it up and you can buy things from stores without having to go to them. The arc smelter is the next level of the blast furnace that I have. The atmospheric condenser will get regions just out of the atmosphere. Probably like hydrogen, I would guess. Here's a better reactor, a fission reactor. And there's also solar panels. So if you don't want to burn wood to get your power, you could use like there's a solar panel. They're generally not, they don't create as much power as the combustion ones, but they're still fun. And here's an advanced Xenolab. I don't have any seeds to really extract, but I'll get some seeds to show you how it works. So let's get some. What do I have a ton of? I have a ton of Avsmingo. So you put the Avsmingo seeds in there, and as you can see, it starts turning into Chloroplast Boost crafting material. This is a gene. I guess that's the only thing you get from Avsmingo. I'll let it go a bit further until it gets to 25. All right. So yeah, so you get this genetic material, which you can then use to build new seeds or do other things. Put the Avsmingo back. Wherever it is. There it is. Okay. Oh, it's not just blocks, by the way, that you can extract stuff from. You can put, I believe you can put food in there, too. So if I put these tomatoes, it'll give me genetic material. Or no, I'm sorry. Tomatoes will give you tissue culture. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Tissue culture is, you get a ton of it. Like almost everything you put in here gives you some tissue culture, and it's not used for many things. But if you have a ton of it, you could sell it. So it is worth a lot of pixels in a pinch. And that's a good way to get rid of excess food that you don't really want. Oops. But you only can do 3 at a time. Alright, now this is really cool. This is a workshop that you can build, but what it does is it gives you the recipe for everything you want. So let's say I want to make an artificial brain. So I go as a output. No stations that I have will give you an artificial brain, but what if I have one? Well, if I put it in the Extraction Lab Mark III, it'll give me a tissue culture, and if I put it in the Extraction Lab Mark I, it'll give me a tissue culture. And sometimes it matters. Like, for example, like I said, if you have water, I don't know if this will have water because it's such a basic material, but yeah, you do. So, if you put water in an iron centrifuge, it gives you different things than if you put it in an industrial centrifuge versus a wooden centrifuge. So if you put the water in the wooden centrifuge, which is the first one you can build, you get oxygen, hydrogen, and contaminated water. But if you have an iron or industrial centrifuge, you also get deuterium. So it's just, again, you want to upgrade so you can start. And also you can put the water inside the extraction labs, which will give you a completely different set of things. Still oxygen and hydrogen, but also some sodium. So if you need sodium, then you would put your water in the extraction lab, not the centrifuge. And different waters give you different things. Obviously, so swamp water will give you DNA sample, nutrient paste, water algae, genetic material, and tissue culture. whereas healing water will give you silicon, oxygen, and contaminated water. So you probably wouldn't want to waste your healing water in the extractor. But if you need nitrogen really bad, you can get it out of the extraction lab. So this thing will tell you everything. All the new mod stuff, what it takes to build it, and if you find something and you want to know, okay, what can I make with this? The one limitation is it has to be somewhere near all your workshops. So if I just put this up here on the wall but don't have any workshops, it will not tell you what it will do with the workshop that you don't have. You have to build the workshop first. Alright, moving on. These are all the base game stuff, but it's just some of them have different upgrade levels. Like the clothing one can go up to a clothing fabricator, which is really cool because you can build clothing that gives you bonuses. Like, for example, the Arctic hood gives you ice resist, and it gives you immunity to cold, ice, snow, and liquid nitrogen. But it's crappy armor, so I wouldn't make it. There's other armor that does it better. Like, for example, the... well, whatever. There might be something in here. As you see, I built a lot of the armor, but not all of it. And it all has cool effects. Like the Ghost Weave gives you a 20% chance for bonus defense if you're below 33% health, and it also gives you plus 25% damage if you're using a pistol. So every set of armor is useful in some way. None of it is just cosmetic, which is what the old game kind of was. Most of the armor was just cosmetic. So here's the basic workstation to extract stuff from seeds. I never use it anymore, but it's the first one you build. But here's where I put, well, here is where I put all of the different genetic materials. So if I ever want to build my own custom seeds, I have a stockpile of genetic materials I could use. This is a matter assembler. It helps you make a lot of the more complicated items of the mod. Like if you need a nuclear core for something, or a focusing array, which I've never built, but also cool like food lockers, gene storage chests, all kinds of anti-grav generators. Just a lot of really fun stuff. And this is a nano fabricator, which lets you build techs in order to improve your... I never really use techs, but you know how you can like turn into a ball and stuff. These make that different. And EPP augments to do different things. Like some will protect you from certain things. Some will, like this one here, reduces your hunger. This one protects you from cosmic damage. And then they've upgraded all of the items that you normally use. Not just the matter manipulator, which they can upgrade into different versions of that, but also they have a mining laser now, which is really cool, although not as good as the matter manipulator until you've really upgraded it really heavily. And they also can upgrade your cave detector and your ore detector, which is really cool. So I'm currently rocking a cave detector 3 and an ore detector Mark II. Oh, another thing too is a lot of these outfits that you make here can be upgraded. So if I were to... not here. So if I were to make the Assassinini armor, this one you can't, but you might be able to upgrade that to a better set of armor later, which you would do in a different workshop. I gotta eat here. Man, the hunger just happens so fast in this game. This is going longer than I thought, so I will show off the rest of my base in the next episode. I thought I could do it all in one episode, but there's just so much that this mod adds that I can't do it. So stay tuned. Next episode, we're going to go through the rest of my ranch, my corral, or whatever it is. And then, once that's done, we'll start looking at some of the really cool new planet types that the mod gives us. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Marcus Aurelius. I would like to thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.